Welcome to our series on how public sector and higher education institutions are accelerating innovation with data and analytics. I'm Wyatt Cash with Scoop News Group, and we're here today with John Rathje, Vice President for Information Technology and CIO at Kent State University. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Wyatt, thank you. I'm looking forward to chatting with you today.
Well, I'd like to start by asking you to maybe share about a recent initiative where the idea of migrating and analyzing data in the cloud, or what's increasingly being described as a data-led migration, how that's helped generate new insights, or how you envision it might generate new insights and innovations in serving your various constituents at Kent State.
Well, I appreciate that. I think one of the things that we think about in any consideration of the cloud is, what is the business value, or what is the academic purpose that we would do something like that? And it comes down to a couple of things, and I'll move into some more practical examples. It's about us moving faster, about agility. Can we make a pivot around something more readily than we could if we were managing it ourselves in our own data center? It's also around focus, so that we can focus on the things that are more relevant to our academic mission with people skills and other sorts of resources that really support what we need in order to advance scalability, resiliency. But you mentioned something earlier, innovation. So as we move forward, one of the things that we're really interested in is, how can we better the mission, looking at starting with academic and student type information? Can we better understand our own students? Because a mission for us is to be a student-ready university. And are we fulfilling on our stated objectives? And moving data to the cloud allows us to aggregate more information and look at different forms of information to explore and better explain, so that we can make more informed decisions more quickly and support our students more readily.
Well, how do you envision that the ability to migrate and analyze data in the cloud can also help improve decision-making internally at Kent State?
Well, one of the big differences for us is looking at how we formally develop these models of data with what is a more current modernization of these same data models or approaches to leveraging data. So historically, what we've done is we've said, well, here's the question we want to answer, so we would model that. But the truth of the matter is, we may not fully understand the questions we need to answer. And the cloud gives us new opportunities and tools that give us some ability to explore and do some correlations. And as we begin to see things emerge, we can begin to then refine a model to give us more exacting outcomes. So in the way of being able to analyze and make decisions, we're actually able to consider things that we otherwise might not have considered. What are the changing demographics, or what are different correlations of people movement or interests in industry compared to our curriculum, or what's happening in the community? How are those things able to be put together in order for us to explore and perhaps take better and more appropriate steps forward?
I think that's a great example, that ability to test things and experiment and see potential outcomes you hadn't necessarily thought about. Let me ask next, how did working with a leading cloud provider and then the community of cloud partners that's out there, how did that speed up the time to value in improving constituent services?
Well, the number one was experience, right? As we move into a new way or a different model of working with a very critical asset, our data, we really want to have strong partners who understand what that all means, and to help move us along from an understanding and a skill perspective much more readily than we would on our own. So number one, just being able to become digitally fluent with data, and the use of data in the cloud is pretty critical. And it's also important because our large cloud providers also create communities of practice where we can work with similarly situated organizations and exchange ideas and identify pathways that have been successful for them given their dynamic or what their objectives are, and see whether or not those fit what we're looking to achieve and looking to identify as well. So we're a part of working with Microsoft in the open education analytics process, and that's just been incredibly valuable to us.
And then lastly, John, how have efforts, or how do you envision efforts in migrating and analyzing data in the cloud? How will that likely change your organization's overall cloud strategy or priorities in the next year or two?
You know, to come back to some of my original comment, it really is about looking at the business and the best use cases. And so rather than predetermine what we have to do in the cloud, what we're learning is the more we do in the cloud, the more we realize what we can do in the cloud and where those values come from. So to anticipate any one thing to say, here's what we see it becoming would probably be a little bit premature. But what I would share with you is this: we're recognizing value faster by moving things to the cloud. So I can certainly see how we could maximize our investments in the cloud easier, our resources and our skills become more focused and concentrated. Our capacity to do more is there. And we also want to be able to manage risk. And when you think about offloading a lot of that work into a trusted provider in the cloud, we can do those things ourselves now, meaning do those things. We can do value added things, more mission minded things, and not have to worry quite as much. So where do I see us headed? I see us being a more optimized organization, really using the tuition dollars and the state funds to be better stewards and the best stewards we possibly can be in delivering a quality education and progression to graduation. I also see us working with corporate and communities to ensure that we're developing pipelines and talents that are relevant and that our curriculum matches up to that. And so I see those things kind of emerging, helping us be a better institution in support of the mission.
Those are all great points. John, Rathje, thank you so much for taking a few minutes to share your insights about how data-led migrations and the cloud in general can help accelerate innovation for institutions like Kent State University.
Wyatt, it's my pleasure to be with you today. Thank you.